Star Wars. I'm a fan, you're a fan, we're all fans. Why are we all fans? Because Star Wars is so awesome. Why is it awesome? Well, ask different people, and you may get different answers. For some people, Star Wars is a spectacular hero's journey built upon the archetypal monomyth, speaking to and even teaching our very souls. For some people, Star Wars is the perfect example of escapist entertainment, allowing us to briefly experience a state beyond mundanity. For some people, Star Wars is their childhood, and for some people, Star Wars is practical effects. For most people, the appeal of Star Wars is a combination of factors. I reckon some people value certain aspects more or less than other people. Part of the magic and ubiquitous appeal of Star Wars is its ability to inspire different people in different ways and give them all something to have in common. However, this doesn't come without its dark side. Ask different people and you'll hear different accounts of when, often to the exact moment, that Star Wars died, ceased to be Star Wars, and instead became a hollow, mummified corpse of its former self. For some people, it was the Phantom Menace. For other people, it was when Disney bought Star Wars from George Lucas. And for everyone else, it was The Last Jedi. For me, it came in 3 waves of destruction. The first strike was when Knights of the Old Republic was recontextualized and, in my opinion, tainted by certain elements of the Old Republic MMORPG and that damn Revan book, which tried to mess with the legacies of Revan and the Jedi Exile, even going so far as to assign a name and canon, sex, and appearance to the Jedi Exile. And that's just sick. Seriously, people, can't we dispense with caring so much about what's canon and leave some things to our imaginations? Well, actually, we'll get back to that. The second strike for me, and probably the most severe, was when our man George Lucas sold Star Wars to Disney. Now, I've never really been a huge fan of Disney. Probably the only Disney properties I can say I really like are The Lion King and Toy Story. And I knew from day one that things were going to get a little bit generic. Without the original mastermind behind the greatness, what hope was there really? But I was willing to give these new movies a chance. I didn't like The Force Awakens much, but I was still planning on watching the sequels. But the third and final strike that revealed to me how dead Star Wars truly was the last straw, the Last Jedi, which indicated to me that not only did Disney Lucasfilm not take the responsibility to such a cultural landmark as great as Star Wars seriously, they also had no idea what they were doing with the story, which killed any anticipation for future movies. Add to that the insolent and foolish attitudes of key figures at Disney Lucasfilm, and Star Wars in its current state has very little appeal left. I guess you could say Star Wars just kind of feels dirty at the moment. But anyway, back to the point. Because Star Wars means different things to different people, everyone has a slightly different perspective on what constitutes death for this thing that is meaningful to them in a specific personal way. I think of it as the curse of Star Wars. Because it captivated the imaginations of people and then took an extended break, it gave those newly seeded imaginations time to grow their own little perspectivitous versions of Star Wars. Then, when the break was over and new movies came around, it was something different that pissed off people who had a certain view and specific appreciation for Star Wars, and instead captured the imaginations of a new generation. You know, people like me, and I was raised on all the movies. I mean, all 6 of the Lucasian or George Lucas movies. Then there was another break, and when new movies came around, the cycle repeats. Except there are a few key differences with Disney era that I'm not going to discuss at the moment. but there are some differences. I might discuss them later. So it seems that the great thing about Star Wars, its ability to capture our imaginations, is also the reason it's very difficult to produce content that satisfies most of the fans. People are taking in the Star Wars universe and making it their own, or at least they were. I don't think it's a stretch to say that Star Wars had a lot in common with a religion. It touches people deep down inside, plants seeds of meaning there, and then becomes part of who you are. Then if someone comes along and directly or indirectly claims that your experience is less valid than theirs, well, you better believe that's not going to fly. So now something tremendous has happened to the Star Wars universe. Remember how I said we'd get back to the idea of leaving some things to our imaginations? Well, that's precisely the magic of Star Wars. Its ability to inspire us in a meaningful way and capture our imaginations. Growing up, one of my favorite things to do as a kid was to go outside with my brother and play Star Wars. And whatever we came up with never had anything to do with the original characters or planets. We always created new planets and new characters and new eras. The universe itself was the world's greatest playground, where our imaginations went wild, just being creative. The movies and games were just windows into this wonderful world. One of the big problems with Star Wars under Disney, something more destructive to the franchise than anything that came before, I would reckon, is what I like to call tidy up syndrome. This term that I just made up refers to a trend I have noticed in a lot of entertainment media, and something that I have actually been tempted with myself in regards to my own creative works. Tidy up syndrome is when the desire for order, unity, and control in a piece of media is taken to the extreme, and hefty measures are taken to achieve it, often to the doom and destruction of much of the more organically grown aspects and charm of the original work. The most glaring example of this is Disney Lucasfilm's decision to declare the expanded universe non-canon in order to tidy up and gain a greater sense of control over the Star Wars universe. The price they pay for this order and unity is having to give a middle finger to the spirit of imagination in the fans and their desire to have a participatory role in the universe that means so much to them. This fundamental miscalculation of the meaning of Star Wars on Disney Lucasfilm's part is going to cause untold amounts of damage to the Star Wars brand, and we already have evidence of a decline already in progress, with the Solo movie and the Star Wars Disneyland parks being lackluster in terms of profitability. Unlike the prequels, which just told a different kind of story than what many fans wanted, the Disney era is actually attacking the spirit of Star Wars itself in an attempt to gain more control and a greater perception of unity. The more you tighten your grip, Mickey Mouse, the more fans will slip through your fingers. And that's about all I have to say about that. In the comments, please tell me what you think. Please tell me what you think about, anything really. I'm a small YouTuber, so whatever you post, I'm going to respond to. I'll catch you next time on the next episode of the Hello Weasel Show. And have a great and blessed day.